Get started. Let's bring up the chair of the World Beyond War Coordinating Committee, Leah Bolger.
Thank you so much, and welcome. Especially if you weren't here yesterday, big welcome to you that you're here today. It is my very great honor to introduce your first speaker today. When he was 15, David Hartsough shook hands with Martin Luther King Jr. That handshake inspired him to become a peace activist, a role he has continued to fill his entire life. I call David the Forrest Gump of activism because wherever there has been an important anti-war event or action, David was there. He has participated in a variety of events in such far-flung locations as the Soviet Union, El Salvador, Mexico, Kosovo, to just name a few. David has been behind the creation of many anti-war actions, such as the infamous Nuremberg actions at the Concord Weapons Station, where he knelt on the tracks to stop munitions trains. This is the same protest in which Brian Wilson was critically injured when he was run over. David has participated in countless acts of disobedience and has been arrested more than 100 times. Additionally, he founded several peace organizations, such as Peacemakers, the Nonviolent Peace Force, and most recently, World Beyond War. When I knew that David believed in the creation of World Beyond War, I knew that I wanted to be a part of it too. I don't know of anyone else who has dedicated their entire lives so fully to the causes of peace and justice. Please welcome my friend and mentor, David Hartsough.
Thank you, Leah, and thanks to all of you for being here and for your commitment to working for peace and justice and an end to all war. The title for my little talk this morning is Ending War, an Idea Whose Time Has Come. I think most of us get tired working to end one war after another war, after another war, after another war, and now to try to stop many wars all at the same time. The terrible loss of human lives is tragic and horrendous and senseless. Over 80% of the people killed in wars are civilians. 180 million people were killed in wars in the last century. War is immoral and illegal and insane. Wars are totally unacceptable, and there is no such thing as a just war. See David Swanson's newest book. Wars are not working. As we have seen in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, the more we use military means to try to resolve these conflicts, the deeper embedded we become in the endless morass of war. A giant sinkhole from which there is no exit. U.S. military actions are recruiting ever more people to Al-Qaeda and ISIS and create ever more enemies and people who hate the United States. Bombing people in Muslim countries is not creating security for Americans and is creating hell for the people in these countries. Millions of people have had to flee their homes, and hundreds of thousands are fleeing to Europe. Wars are a tremendous waste of money. $2 trillion down a year down the drain. Half of that spent by the United States. Think what we could do with that money to create a better life for every person on the planet. Opportunities for education, health care, housing, funding the transition to renewable energy world. What if the U.S. committed to spending even half of our military budget to create a better life for every person on the planet and challenge other nations to do the same? What a much higher quality of life and more security for all people on Earth. Rather than creating ever more enemies, we could create ever more friends. There are alternatives to war and preparations for war as a means of achieving security. See the new book in your packet, A Global Security System, an Alternative to War, published by World Beyond War. This alternative includes making a commitment to negotiation and mediation, sitting down at the conference table to resolve all disputes, and working through the UN to put an end to the scourge of war. Our choice is shared or common security for all of us rather than national, quote, security for each country at the expense of security for other nations. There is either shared security for all of us or no security for any of us. The massive majority of people in the world, probably over 90%, want peace and have nothing to gain from war and everything to lose from war. Their homes, their lives, their livelihood, their hospitals and schools. We need to move away from the idea that we in the peace movement are a very small minority. In reality, we're the massive majority of the world's people. We need to reach out to all the groups and constituencies who could benefit from putting the funds from the military budget into improving the lives of all of us. What if we went to every group and constituency in our society and in all countries who could benefit from ending war and invited them to work to help to put those funds saved into programs to improve the quality of life, education, healthcare, housing, making the conversion to a renewable energy world, we would have a massive movement. I would invite you to show the video that's on the Peace World Beyond War website. The choice, the $2 trillion choice of where we want to spend the $2 trillion a year. And to show this in schools, in churches, in neighborhood groups, women's groups, Rotary groups, veterans groups, refugees, Democratic and Republican Party groups, everybody we can think of, neighborhood groups, and ask, how do you want your money spent? And invite people to work together to demand that our government do what will benefit all the people. And if they say no, and that their allegiance is to the military-industrial complex, we need to organize to elect leaders who will represent the people. People all over the world have learned the power of building nonviolent movements to create change. So if our government will not listen to the people, we can change our government. Probably most of you know the book by Erica Chenoweth and Maria Stefan, Why Civil Resistance Works, where they studied 323 violent movements and nonviolent movements to create, major change. And the nonviolent movements were twice as likely to be successful. So for anybody that says nonviolence is passé, is weak, I tell them to look at the study. Our greatest enemy is people's sense of powerlessness, that we can do nothing to create change, to end wars, or to end all war. That is exactly what people in the power structure want us to believe. We have to get out of that mindset and take back our power. I also encourage you to take a look at my book, Waging Peace, Global Adventures of a Lifelong Activist, which is the stories of my working for peace and being active with nonviolent movements over the last 50 years. And my hope in this book is to help inspire and empower people that we can create change. Get out of that we're powerless mentality. And that's available in the World Beyond War table outside. I am inspired by the Moral Mondays movement in North Carolina. Led by Reverend William Barber, which is bringing many movements together to demand change. civil rights movement, the religious community, the lesbian and gay community, and many, many more. They have learned that together they have the power to challenge the power structure and create change, and they're making concrete progress. 10 other states are building similar movements. We need to envision a world without war and feel empowered by that vision and realize that the vast majority of people around the world would like to live in that world and are our allies to create it. And I encourage us all to build a community of people where you live who will support each other in working toward that vision. Alone, we don't have much power, but together we are powerful. And we need to commit ourselves to a long-term struggle. We, the people of the world, must demand that our governments end our addiction to wars and militarism and preparations for war and killing and terrorizing other peoples in order to create security. President Dwight Eisenhower had a quote that I really appreciate. He said, "I'd like to believe that the people of the world want peace so much that governments will have to get out of the way and let them have it. But the people need to demand that our government stop fighting wars to create peace." People all over the world have learned the power of nonviolent action and can build nonviolent people power movements to force our governments to listen to the people and our deep yearning for peace. Let's get to work. Hopefully each of us here at this conference will go home and help organize a powerful grassroots movement to end all war. Thank you.